I suppose it was inevitable, given the success of the larger F-Pace, that Jaguar would produce a smaller crossover, a compact SUV, a competitor for the likes of the BMW X1, the new Volvo XC40, and that kind of car, because the F-Pace is selling in large amounts by Jaguar terms, more than 70,000 sales worldwide last year. That's around twice as many as either of the XF or XE saloons managed to sell. And this is it, it's the E-Pace, and it's actually underneath a Land Rover because it borrows the platform, the all-steel platform incidentally, making it the only steel chassis Jaguar at the moment, from the Range Rover Evoque and from the Land Rover Discovery Sport. And that means that in a small way, this is also, like the original 2001 X-Type, the second compact Jaguar to be based on a Ford Mondeo, because bits of this chassis and platform do date back to the 2007 Mondeo and its EUCD platform, although you probably need a degree of metallurgy and a couple of microscopes to be able to find any Mondeo left under here, so modified is it. Anyway, that's beside the point. What we have here is Jaguar entering the most hotly contested marketplace at the moment, that of the compact SUV, and prices starting at around €36,000. You'd have to say this is looking like a bit of a bargain. You can spend about the same as what you'd spend on a well-specified Nissan Qashqai, and yet of a Friday evening say, darling, should we take the Jag? Now, with there never being a free lunch, that comes with certain compromises, and I have to say this feels like the cheapest Jaguar I've ever driven. It's not good in a lot of respects. The cabin takes a lot from the F-Type sports car, as indeed does the exterior styling. The problem is it's just done in a way that doesn't inspire much, well, inspiration. The plastics are a bit cheap and a bit scratchy in places. The leatherwork's quite nice, but the overall design is just really quite bland. Aside from the cat on the steering wheel, there's nothing in here that shouts Jaguar, that says, yes, I have bought into one of the great motoring and indeed motor racing brands of the last 2 centuries. Which is a bit of a disappointment, and so is the exterior styling. As I say, Jaguar has tried to transpose some of the styling of the F-Type sports car onto what is a small but tall SUV shape, and it just hasn't worked. It's a bit like the original Porsche Cayenne in that respect. It's taking sports car styling, trying to make it work on an SUV, and it's just failing. To these eyes, I have to say, it just looks dumpy and awkward. It's a long way from being a proper Jag. Now, there are some bright spots, because it does at least drive like a proper Jag. Well, for the most part. Steering is light and beautifully weighted and very accurate and very fast. The chassis has a very good balance to it, and when you start going through a series of twisty corners, you start to think, yes, this car is brilliant, this is terrific to drive, this is going to entertain me. And it does, but only up to a point, because you soon start to realise that its dynamic repertoire kind of runs out. It gets to a certain level and goes no further. It's very good, but not quite excellent, and Jag has in the recent past made cars that are truly excellent to drive. The ride quality is also quite firm and even a little bit bouncy at times, but actually one of the biggest dynamic culprits is the engine. It's the 2-litre Ingenium 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, and in this form it's got 150 horsepower and 380 newton meters of torque. Now that sounds plenty, but this car weighs 1,800 kilos with the all-wheel drive system, with the automatic gearbox, and that's really rather a lot. And you can really feel that, because when you try and extend the engine, it just runs out of puff so quickly and just sits there grinding and growling away at you. It's really quite noisy, not very well refined, and I have to say, again, a bit of a disappointment, although on the upside it's reasonably economical and doesn't kill you on the road tax department. Inside, well, there's reasonable space. The boot's a decent size, so it is fairly practical, but the problem is, by spending the same amount of money, you could have the Land Rover Discovery Sport, which has all the same bits underneath, the same engine, the same gearbox, the same steering, everything. Just as good to drive, but a lot more practical. And I have to say, for me, much better looking. And then there's the price tag itself. $36,000 sounds like a bargain, but this one, and this isn't a spectacularly well-equipped one either, chimes in at €55,000. I'm sorry, that's a lot of money for a car that really is a bit of a letdown. I think the biggest problem that I had with this Jaguar in my time with it is that, well, actually just yesterday, coming through traffic in town, I paused and let another car out of a side road in front of me, and that other car was a Jaguar Xe saloon. Now, the Xe is a long, long way from the best car Jaguar has ever built, but I do quite like them. And this one looked fantastic. It was an R Sport model, big alloys, gunmetal grey metallic paint, and I could see that it had the red leather interior option. It looked brilliant, and all of a sudden I just felt I want to be in that Jaguar, not this one.